Round 4 of the Thundersport GB Championships in 2015 brings us to Cadwell Park in Lincolnshire, a circuit that provides challenges for every rider in the dry. But unfortunately this morning we wake up to wet conditions here. It was beautiful sunshine here yesterday, and now look at it. We've got plenty of racing action then for the youngsters in the Aprilia Super Teens, the Aprilia Rr4 50s, and also the Super Twins and Stock Twins. Stay tuned then. This is GP Racing Dream. So here we are then, Cadwell Park in Lincolnshire for round 4 of the Thundersport GB Championships. Snetterton in Norfolk was round 3, and so here we go for Cadwell. The Thundersport GB Championships then, it is the Aprilia 450s that are first up onto the grid. One or two other familiar faces lining up on the grid. That's Joe Thompson, former Aprilia Super Team rider on the Moto 3 there, who joins in the fun today. When I say joins in the fun, doesn't look like it's going to be much fun, does it? It's soaking wet here this morning. Zach Corduroy you just saw, and Josh Owens, also another rider that enters. But look at all those 450s. A 450 championship that we're looking at. Cameron Lee entered the round as championship leader ahead of Sam Wilford. Sam Wilford not here this weekend. He's over Portimao. Away from the line we go, and we're on board here with Will Hodgson looking back. And look at the start that he got there. Will up into turn 1. Number 14, Will Hodgson came into this weekend 5th overall in the championship. But had a very good afternoon in the dry yesterday, but he leads here. Number 14, Will Hodgson, up ahead there of Joe Thompson. Then in 3rd, I think that was Cameron Lee. A couple of riders just running wide. We've got the Formula 400s to look out for as well. Chris Gray, number 99, and number 50, Lewis Barnes, the two riders that have been battling it out for that championship. 14 it is though, Will Hodgson that leads from Thompson, and Cameron Lee there in 3rd. In 4th with the yellow and black leathers is Zach Corduroy. Zach, the Aprilia Super Team champion of 2013, went into the 450s last year, struggled a bit, starting to put things together now. Number 7 is Will Keynes. There is number 55, Ross Simpson from Chessington on the JDF Racing Aprilia 450. Probably 95% of this field started out in the Aprilia Super Team Championship, and you'll get a chance to see the Super Teenies here in this show on Motors TV. Bit of a wobble there from Will Hodgson on the exit of the hairpin, and looks like there's a change for 2nd as well. There's Chris Gray, number 99. He leads the Formula 400s rider from Deal on the CJ Gray Builders Kawasaki. Across the line we go, and there is Zach Corduroy, Will Keynes, and number 64 Danny Booth on the KJD Racing Aprilia rider from Preston. Will Hodgson leads from Cameron Lee then, the championship leader in 2nd there, number 58 from Colville on the in-competition Aprilia. Cameron would have entered this round with a few more points in his back pocket in terms of the lead overall, but he had a disastrous Sunday last time out at Snetterton, you may remember. Didn't end the day with any points at all, fell in both races, so he's got a bit of making up to do, but he's got to catch up with Will Hodgson, who's got our onboard camera, and there we are looking back at Cameron Lee through the chicane. The great thing about the wet, of course, is that riders wear those clear visors so you can see their eyes as they're now coming through the bottom of the mountain. This is your race leader on board with Will Hodgson looking back at Cameron Lee over the top of the hill and then into Hall Bends. This the the 450 championship. In the background there is number 7, Will Keynes from West Wickham on the Fire System Services Aprilia, looking to get past 74 Joe Thompson. Those that rear light on the back there is of course Danny Booth. Just saw number 64. Who else have we got there? We can just quickly pick up on Ross Simpson and Aaron Clifford. Aaron Clifford, number 19 from County Meath on the Clifford Racing, Aprilia. Oh, it's starting to rain a bit harder now, isn't it? Look at that. The spray up now. Number 14, Will Hodgson, still leads from Cameron Lee. I mean, the riders went out on wets anyway, but this will be a little nasty for them. Will Hodgson, it is that still leads, putting a lap on some of the other opposition. In second there, Cameron Lee. Through the gooseneck and now downhill towards Mansfield Corner. Tricky corner, this one. Down to second gear, first gear in some cases, depending on what machinery you're on. Slightly off camber as well. Then now into this new chicane, which still hasn't actually officially got a name. It's just called chicane. Down into then another chicane, which is the left-right at the bottom of the mountain. Catches a few people out. There's Will Kane, Zach Corduroy, Booth, Thompson, Clifford and Ross Simpson. All of those guys know each other fairly well from their days in the Super Teens. Various fans and spectators in the grandstands then getting their brollies up. I'm surprised they're still sat there actually, which is good to see, watching the close racing here, but it really is pouring down here at Cadwell Park. Number 96 and 93, it's Connor Wheeler and Matt Rangeley. They're just going through Hall Bends. Then almost a move made. Will Hodgson's your leader though across the line ahead of Cameron Lee. Will Keynes is now third ahead of Zach Corduroy, who's looking to get himself on the podium. Then Danny Booth, Joe Thompson. There is Connor Wheeler, Matt Rangeley. Number 43 is Alex Platt, and number 5 is Tristan Finocchiaro on the Transmet Group Aprilia. Platt out there, number 43 on the Stampen Garage Aprilia, and further back there, just looking to see who was behind those guys. I think Chris Gray is still leading the Formula 400. He is. He's mixing it with Keelan Irwin and Connor as well. So good stuff from Chris Gray. The race leader is Will Hodgson. This is a good bunch of points he could be picking up here. Number 14 didn't start the season off quite as well as he wanted to. Cameron Lee, on the other hand, the opposite. Zach Corduroy's now got himself up into third place, by the way. He's up ahead of Danny Booth, and there's Ross Simpson. Will Keynes it is that's fallen back. He was in third. He's now down into sixth place. So I don't know if Will's made a mistake somewhere or run on or just had a bit of an out of seat moment. Very easy to do in these conditions. You've got to be so smooth, but these 450s are good bikes in the wet. Of course, they're running Avon tyres this year, and from what I hear from the rest of the pack as the last lap flag goes out, they're very grippy indeed, which is always good news. You might think that sounds odd. Well, you know, they ought to be. They're wet tyres, but certain brands of wet tyres are more grippy than others, and the Avon's working well. On board now then with Will Hodgson. That's Zach Corduroy in second place now, and getting in the slipstream and looking like he might just want to win this one. Zach Corduroy's never had a race win in the Aprilia 450s before, but he wants it here, and he goes up the inside of Will Hodgson into Park Corner. In third place is Cameron Lee, and so Zach Corduroy, who last year struggled, and we wondered whether he could get back to that form again that he showed in the Super Team Championship in 2013. We knew it was only a matter of time, but he's done it sooner rather than later, and Corduroy here is on here, ready for his first race win. He's made the move on the final lap. Will Hodgson might not have an answer. Cameron Lee is still in third. Danny Booth is having a strong race here in fourth. Then it's Will Keynes in fifth. So, towards the mountain, barring any mistakes, Zach Corduroy should be able to guide this one home for that first win. I wonder if he's feeling any nerves now as he fiddles his way through Hall Bends. Probably when you've got a slender lead, Hall Bends in the wet is not something to look forward to. There we see just in the background a couple of other riders going through. There's Chris Gray, your Formula 400 race winner, it looks like. Just this final sector to deal with. Second place in the 400s, by the way, is Lewis Barnes, and he's having a battle at the moment with Andrew Carden. But across the line we go. Checker flag is out, and Zach Corduroy wins his first ever Aprilia RRV 450 race ahead of Will Hodgson. Cameron Lee just misses out on third. That was a photo finish at the end there between Will Hodgson and Cameron Lee. Danny Booth takes fourth, Will Keynes in fifth, Joe Thompson in sixth. There you see the top three then: Zach Corduroy, Will Hodgson and Cameron Lee. And in the Formula 400, Chris Gray, the winner from Lewis Barnes and Andrew Carden. winner of the LMB Formula 400 race, Chris Gray. Chris, it's been a very successful weekend for you so far. 3 wins out of 3. Slightly worse conditions today, though. How did you find that?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's been a really good weekend. Dry and wet, been up and down, but yeah, happy to get 3 first at the moment. Hopefully I can do the same next race and see how it goes.
Anyone to thank at all?
I'd like to thank CJ Gray Building Contractors, DLO MOT Centre, Fab Weld Metalworks, Jace the Ace, my mum and dad, and Abby, and James. Thanks.
3rd place in the first Aprilia RRV 450 race here today at Cadwell Park, Cameron Lee. Cameron, you come here as championship leader. Filthy conditions this morning, though. How was that for you?
It was really good, to be honest. The Avon tyres have been working brilliantly, so we've just taken steps forward and more forward, and just really progressing with the tyre and the race pace. So yeah, I was really comfortable in the race, and I felt like I had a good pace. And it's just a shame that Zach just pipped us all to the line, but I tried my very hardest, and it's points in the bag towards the championship, so I'm really happy with it.
Anyone else to thank?
I'd like to thank Citra Electricals, APPM Facility Services, Aprilia, Avon, and Thundersport GB, also Frey Daytona, and Ian and Dave, my mechanic, and my mum and dad, because without them I wouldn't be able to do it. So thank you, and a big thank you to all the marshals, because they do it for free, and without them there wouldn't be any racing, so thank you.
2nd place here today, Will Hodgson. Will, you had a couple of wins here in the dry yesterday. We've woken up this morning to a bit of wet weather. You were leading for the most part. It started to rain even harder halfway through the race, and you got done right at the last there by Zach.
Yeah, I wasn't hoping for the wet this morning. I was hoping for dry, but it seemed to be going half decent. I knew Zach would have been up there for the win, definitely in the wet, he's there in the dry as well. I mean, he pipped us on the line yesterday, so yeah, fair play. All credit to Zach. I'm really chuffed for him to get his first win. He deserves it.
You're having a very good weekend so far, though, for the championship-wise. I'm sure you've got a few people to thank as well.
Yeah, I've got a few people to thank. I'd like to say a huge thank you to sponsors and people that helped make my racing dream possible. Ron Hodgson Specialist Cars, my dad, Joe, Stephen and Trace. In competition, Ian, Myra, Gibbo, Jimmy and Dave Lewis. Nitro Helmets, Colroy, John Lloyd. Pipeworks Motorcycle Exhaust, Grace for down on the pit wall boarding me, Aprilia, Avon Tyres, Stephen Ash at Avon, Silclean, Hull Beach Motorcycle Tyres, Mark, he does a great job. All the Thundersport guys, marshals, medics and officially all do a great job, thank you.
It's been a while since we've seen that smile on your face, Zach Corduroy, 2013 Aprilia Super Team champion. I know that you struggled for a few bits last year on the 450, but it's starting to come together now. And what a way to take your first win here at Cadwell.
Yeah, phenomenal result. Friday was wet, going quite well in the wet. And yesterday was good, 2 seconds, and yeah, picked up a first today, absolutely over the moon with it.
Certainly looks like it's all clicking together for you. I'm sure you've got a few people that you'd like to thank now.
Yeah, massive thanks to my mum and dad. Beginning of the season hasn't been the best, broken wrist, crashes, and them two just helped me all the way. And yeah, I like to donate this race to my granddad who's in hospital at the moment. I'll get well soon.
Great race, that one. Coming up after the break, the Super Teams. Welcome back from the break then. It's Cadwell Park, round 4 of the championships, and time for the Aprilia Super Teams Championship for riders aged 12 to 18. There's Charlie Atkins, who barely stand up on his bike, he's so small. And there is Max Cook, number 30. Those two at the moment battling away at the top of the championship, with TJ Toms having moved away. Jack Scott, JJ Racing rider, had a chance of winning his first race yesterday, but unfortunately didn't quite work out that way. Orange bibs on then for the newcomers. There's only 2 riders that are not newcomers in the Super Teams here for this season. Away we go from the line. Not a great start at all there for number 56, Charlie Atkins. He really struggled and he's been swallowed up already. Jack Scott it is with the advantage from number 30, Max Cook. Number 46, Harry Phillips, also away well. Now, just so that you don't get confused, we've got 2 race starts here. We'll show you the second race start in a moment with a Thundersport 500 Cup race. We'll keep you up to date with that from time to time. But it's Jack Scott that leads the Aprilia Super Teams. That's what we're focusing on here. Number 81, Freddie Crane there, been having all sorts of trouble with the running of that bike at Snetterton, and it hasn't improved here. They've completely bought a brand new bike. They've got brand new engine. They've got brand new everything. And it looks like after all that, it might be a worrying loom. Here is the 500 Cup start. So these are the, we've got so many riders in the Thundersport 500s this weekend. Their show will be featured Thundersport Plus. These guys have got a separate race. They're started, and look, they start, and the super teams are now coming in towards the bottom of the mountain. Oh my word, there's a rider gone down there on the exit of the chicane. Not a great place to go down. And that there is number 78, Matt Bauer, who's probably just clipped the grass or clipped the white line there in the background. Nice to see that he's up and okay. So the riders to look out for in the championship are Max Cook and Charlie Atkins, who are locked on 172 points coming into this weekend. Freddie Crane, Jack Scott and Connor Thompson. They are the top 5 in the championship overall. There is number 9, Connor Thompson, just mentioned him. So it's Jack Scott that leads, number 55 from Luton on the JJ Racing Aprilia, looking for his first race win. He's been very strong so far this weekend. There is Charlie Atkins making progress, number 56, after bogging the start. Into Park Corner we go. And Jack's family certainly told me over the weekend that it's one of those situations where they thought that he might be able to pick up his first win here yesterday. Maybe he's just waited for the TV cameras to come out and decided that he wants to do it on TV so he can show his friends at school when he returns on Monday. There we see around Mansfield, horrible corner that one, but the super team bikes here going well, and it's Jack Scott that still leads from Charlie Atkins, number 56, who's done well to get himself back up to second. In third there is KJD rider Max Cook on the Aprilia Super Team. All these bikes are production 125s, by the way, these Aprilia Super Teams. Now the effectively riders with orange bibs on, or riders with the red backing and the white numbers, are riders that are newcomers. Riders with black backing and the white numbers are effectively riders that have been in it for more than a season. And there's one of them, number 11. It's Lewis Patterson from Perth. Number 96 is Rhys Irwin, just up ahead there of Freddie Crane with the yellow wheels. Freddie from Ramsey and the Isle of Man, Jugger Racing Aprilia. It's a shame then that they're running into those problems with the Aprilia at the moment. Two strokes can be a bit fiddly if they start going wrong, and some electronic issues then for Freddie. He's doing a good job just to pick up as many points at the moment as he can, but he's definitely a championship contender, make no mistake about it. It's a Thundersport 500 Cup bike there, just getting in the middle of all that. James Hart is finding himself involved in a battle between one or two of the whippersnappers, and there's number 66, that's Chris Rydell. Chris is leading the Thundersport 500 Cup, by the way, so I thought I'd point that out. Number 88 behind him is Glenn Stewart. Jack Scott, oh my, now what's going on there? That's one of the Thundersport 500 riders that's gone down and out. That's Harley Smith, number 8. He runs across the circuit and out of the way of Aprilia Super Team race leader, number 55, Jack Scott. Then it's number 56, Charlie Atkins. Into the chicane at the bottom of the mountain. Number 46 is Harry Phillips, and number 30, Max Cook. So Max Cook at the moment not enjoying the best of runs. We're normally seeing him featuring at the very sharp end and winning races on a regular basis, hence why he's second overall in the championship, although that might change at the end of today. There's number 9, Connor Thompson from Hawley on the CRT Racing Aprilia. Got an old Ben Spies replica lid on there. Across the line for Jack Scott. So far not putting a foot wrong for a rider that made a couple of minor errors yesterday that prevented him from winning. He's not showing any signs of doing that here. Max Cook there has moved now ahead of 46 Harry Phillips, the rider from Leicester on the Eco Roof Aprilia. There is number 96 Rhys Irwin from Letterkenny in the Republic of Ireland on the Scott Racing Motorcycles Aprilia. And then number 81 Freddie Crane once more. And Connor Thompson just up ahead of him. Number 16 is a Thundersport 500 rider, John Capper from Middlewich. Those guys, of course, started later than the Super Teams in this race and are just starting to filter through the pack. There's Connor Thompson again, number 9. Orange bib on for him. There's Jack Scott then, getting past number 16. So in fact, these guys, some of these guys are actually catching up from the previous race start, and some of the guys that at the sharper end are catching the back end of the Super Teams. If you can see what I'm saying, it's quite confusing. But leading the Thundersport 500 Cup at the moment, still Chris Rydell, although him and Glenn Stewart are inseparable on each lap at the moment, so that one could be going to the line. No one able to do anything about Jack Scott at the moment. Charlie Atkins in second place. This would be good for his championship, 20 points. Doesn't want to do anything too silly. Jack Scott is currently 5th overall in the championship coming into this event. But he's about 40-50 points down, so not a direct threat at the moment, although a race win would certainly come in very handy as we get another shot there of Connor Thompson down into the hairpin. Here is the Thundersport 500 Cup battle then, number 66, Chris Rydell from Sleaford on the RP Motorsport Honda, and then number 88, Glenn Stewart from Braddon, the Isle of Man on the Blackstone Racing Honda. Jack Scott across the line, lapping in the 157s at the moment. That's obviously some way off the lap record because that was set in the dry. That record, by the way, in the Aprilia Super Teams, I just want to mention that because it's stood now, I think, since 2009. Jake Dixon still holds that record for the Super Teams around here. Number 38 there is Mick Marshall from Raw Marsh on the Rare Fast Racing Honda. And there is a change in the lead for the Thundersport 500 Cup as 88 Glenn Stewart goes up. There is 55, and 55 Jack Scott still leads overall from Charlie Atkins. A couple of other Thundersport 500 Cup runners going through there. Number 54 is Sam Messenger. He's about to be lapped by Jack Scott in the Super Teams. Over the top of the mountain we go. Now then. Oh, blimey. Hats off and well done to number 86. That was a brilliant save from Oliver Dean there in the Thundersport 500 Cup. He's just up behind Mark Leaning. Mark Leaning, the dad of Josh and Will Leaning, who race in the Thundersport 500 regular. But how he stayed on that bike on the exit of the chicane, I do not know. The checker flag is about to go out, folks, and Jack Scott has done it. It's his first ever Super Teen win, and finally he's got there, and I think you might just see some better results coming from him in the future. Second place went to Max Cook, so he really did climb through the field. Well done to Max on the KJD Racing Aprilia. He got past Charlie Atkins, who finished in 3rd. Harry Phillips was 4th. Lewis Patterson 5th. Connor Thompson ended up finishing in 6th place. Onto the podium then, we see there Jack Scott, Max Cook and Charlie Atkins, top 3 of them, all newcomers. And then the Thundersport 500 Cup, it's Chris Rydell, Glenn Stewart and Jamie Plummer.
3rd place in the Nitro Newcomers and in the Aprilia Super Teams overall, Charlie Atkins. Charlie, you had a good day yesterday. Bit wet and slippery out there this morning though.
Yeah, it was a good day yesterday. This morning in practice, I was a bit off, but it was good. And the race was just brilliant.
You hoping for drying later on?
Yeah, I'm hoping so, but that was still a really good race for me and Max.
Anyone to thank?
CSM Designs, Momi Composites, Mini GP UK, a massive thanks to my Uncle Lee because of all the support, 7SN for their support, Mini GP UK, Metcalf Motors, and my mum and dad for all their help.
Well done to you, Charlie. We'll move on to 2nd place overall in that race. Max Cook. Max, you've been on the podium regularly all season long, and 3 out of 3 so far this weekend. What were the conditions like for you out there?
Well, it was my first ever race on that bike in the wet, so it was quite tricky to the start, and then I felt the dab on my knee and I knew that I got grip. So it took on from them really, so build a confidence, and it was a great race.
Anyone to thank at all?
Let's say a big thank you to my mum and dad, family and friends, KJD Racing, Fab Racing, M4 Karting, my Uncle Roy in Canada, who's been a great help this year, King's Two Wheel Centre, 151s, HMT motorcycle tyres, 100% suspension, Gloucester Bike Specialist, Ian Newton, Aprilia, Dunlop and Plum Surf.
Well done to you, Max, and we'll maybe see you later on. Now on to the overall race winner, Jack Scott. Jack, it's been a long time coming this. A bit of a disastrous day yesterday here for you at Cadwell Park, but finally you've got yourself on the top step. How pleased are you with that?
Yeah, pretty pleased with that. Yeah, it wasn't a very good day yesterday, crashing twice, but whilst winning in the second race. But yeah, it was a good race this race. Felt confident, yeah.
And hoping for similar conditions in race 2, or does it not really matter to you whether it's wet or dry?
It doesn't really matter to me. I like both, but wet is good now. But yeah, it's good.
Anyone to thank at all?
Two Centre, Nick, Sophie, Les, Thundersport, Aprilia, Dunlop, Mum, Dad.
Yeah, well done to Jack. He'll be back out for race 2 a bit later on. Coming up after the break then, it's the Super Twins and Stock Twin. Welcome back to Cadwell Park. It's Thundersport GB, GP Racing Dream, and next out on circuit the HMT Racing Super Twins, Stock Twins, and some Street Fighters as well. There is Brad Peary, number 97, number 11, James Folkard, Scott Racing Motorcycles, and he will have on the onboard camera, so we'll get a few glimpses of that. Dave Butler back with us, Irish rider, number 91. Just on the right of your screen in the background there he is, number 26, leading the Stock Twins, Dan Taylor. Shrug of the shoulders, of course, the conditions probably not favourable at the moment. Dan Curtin Lindsay on the direct commercial Suzuki 650. Brad Peary with a pink helmet there, starts then from pole position as they roar towards Coppice Corner. A bit of weaving going on there for Will Hodgson, who you just saw out in the 450s a minute ago. And you got also Danny Booth out there again as well. The 450s are eligible to run a Super Twins in this championship. James Folkard is out there though on a Aprilia 550, and what a start for number 11. He's got away and out front immediately, and Brad Peary has already gone missing. Now the two of them look like they were touching going into turn 1, but Brad Peary's gone down at Charlie's, I understand, in the early stages already. So despite getting away well from the line, Peary is out of this race, and not for the first time this season. Peary's not going to pick up any points here in this race. It's number 11 Folkard then that has the advantage through Mansfield, and already at halfway round lap 1 that lead is up to what, nearly 2 seconds. That's absolutely remarkable. Will Hodgson it is then on the 450 Aprilia that is second. 91 is Dave Butler in third. Number 4 there is Lee Wainwright. Nice to have Lee back out there with us from Newark on the Suzuki 650. He's up there in 4th place. Then it's Danny Booth on the KJD Racing Aprilia number 164. He's now going through your shot. Then we wait for 5th place rider there on that. Look, Greg Madeiro's up there. Greg Madeiro number 60, and Aaron Bradley's had a good start as well, number 111. There is Greg Madeiro up ahead of Dan Taylor leading the Stock Twins, then Matt Rangeley. Clive White, number 53, is back with us. Nice to see Clive back out in Thundersport, a rider from Hull on the Rapier Paintwork Suzuki 650. You might remember him from 2 or 3 years ago in the Mini Twins. Was always a regular rider up at the sharp end with Ian Popplewell. Clive at the moment, well, bearing in mind this is a bit of a one-off, he's very competitive indeed. He's up there with Dan Taylor immediately. I mentioned at the start that there's also some Street Fighters out there, the likes of Paul Cunvin, Rob Pragnell, Mark Biswell as well. And I'll keep you up to date on whereabouts they are roughly and how they're getting on. But at the front of this race, it is number 11, the rider from Liverpool, James Folkard on the Scott Racing Motorcycles Aprilia 550, that has this advantage, going very well indeed. So far, leading the championship. He was an Aprilia Super Teen champion. He's been an Aprilia 450 champion, and if he wins this Super Twins title this year, it's a 550 that he's on. That'll be 3 different Aprilias that he's won championships on, and I've heard a couple of rumours that they might try and get him on an Aprilia RSV4 for GP1 next season. Not sure how true that is, but that sounds rather exciting for James Folkard if he can get himself into GP1, and then that could end up being 4 championships won on different makes of Aprilia. There's Dave Butler then, number 91. Dave, a fan of this Cadwell Park circuit, the rider from Dublin, the Republic of Ireland. Always good fun to have around the paddock as well. Through the Hall Bends, number 23 is Charlie Oakland. Number 63 is George Anderson. George out there from Evesham on the GEA Racing Suzuki 650. There's Danny Booth. Now Lee Wainwright's pulling in. I saw a couple of puffs of smoke coming from that bike earlier on. And you could just see there the officials had the black and orange flag out. So they were about to pull him in, I think, because of some issues with his bike. They've seen some puffs of smoke, and of course they're concerned about it. They don't want to see a bike. Well, there you see, there is number 4. They're just checking things out. And it's spewing a few bits of fluid out there, so he is down and out. I can't imagine it's oil, because it would have been a stop to the race, so probably just a bit of radiator fluid or something like that. James Folkard then, number 11. Here we are on board with him, looking up at James. This is just a bit of a trick camera angle that we thought we'd play around with, and it seems to be working quite well. Unfortunately though, James did say to me before the start of this race that he didn't want to wear a clear visor for this occasion, and you just see how hard the riders have to work, especially around a circuit like Cadwell Park in situations like this, as he now goes into the mountain and up over the hill. You can see him just going over the front of the bike, trying to prevent the front wheel from going up into the air. Now through Hall Bends. Now look at this, he's changing his body position. Anyone that says that riders just sit on a bike and twist the throttle back, well, watch this footage and you'll see just how hard they work. So this is good footage then of Scott Racing Motorcycles, Aprilia 550 runner and race leader, getting tucked in on the start-finish straight and up towards Coppice Corner. His lead is enormous at the moment. It's so rare to see races like this in this championship with leads like Will Hodgson doing a good job though. Rarely enters the Super Twins, but he's getting some extra track time here. There is Clive White that's actually leading. It is Clive White that leads the Stock Twins ahead of Dan Taylor now. He's getting bulked into turn 1. Mark Biswell it is that leads the Street Fighters at the moment, just from Paul Company. It's James Folkard then that leads overall. That leads up to about 12 seconds as it stands. They're now going through the new chicane. Just about to put a lap on number 76, Joshua Martin. Nice and easy does it then for James. I wonder if he's got a pit board telling him just how large his lead is. There's Danny Booth. Danny's in 3rd on the KJD Racing Aprilia in the Super Twins race, so a bit of extra track time for him. And then there's Clive White, number 53. Come on, Clive. Good to see you out there. Dan Taylor then, who's been so dominant in the Stock Twins for such a long time, is not going to pick up a win here. Matt Rangeley's just made up another place there. You just saw number 93. There is the race leader in the Street Fighters. Number 35 there is Mark Biswell, so he's got to pass Paul Cumpin and leads by quite some way. He's about to just get past Giles Day from the Isle of Man. The last lap flag is out then for James Folkard. Just one more lap of this Cadwell Park circuit for James. Will Hodgson there is still in 2nd place as he looks over his shoulder. He's got about a 13-14 second advantage over Danny Booth in 3rd. James Folkard just going through the motions. It's pretty impressive this, because it's obviously still quite wet out there in parts, and James is only 6-7 seconds off the lap record. So it just shows you how well he is going. Will Hodgson still in 2nd place in this HMT Racing Super Twins. HMT Racing, by the way, Whole Beach Motorcycle Tyres Limited. Mark and the team, who've been in the paddock now for some years, regular supporters of the Thundersport GB Championships with over 20 years experience. They pretty much stock every single tyre you can think of in there, and so they're going to have wets and dries here today, because the sun will be coming out this afternoon, we understand, so hoping for a bit more dry weather. I don't think we'll see too much rain from here on in. Into the final section of the circuit then for Folkard, and well, since Peary's exit from the race at the very start, Folkard's not really had much of a race. Biswell there is about to win the Street Fighters as well. Across the line there, James Folkard wins race 1 by a considerable margin. The Scott Racing's motorcycle Aprilia rider extends his championship lead, and in fact goes across the line 17 seconds clear of Will Hodgson. Danny Booth is then a further 16 seconds behind. in third, and there are the top three. All of them Aprilia riders. Folkard, the winner from Liverpool. Clive White, the winner overall in the Stock Twins, ahead of Dan Taylor and Greg Vadira. And in the Street Fighters, it's Biswell, Cunvin and Ian Matthews.
Winner of the Avon Super Twins there, James Folkard. James, adverse conditions this morning, starting to dry out there, so naturally quite tricky, but you seem to find it quite easy there.
Well, no, easy is definitely not the word, you know. It's the Avon tyres that we have, the wets, apparently they work fantastic in the dry conditions as well, because I was really, really happy with it. They were sliding a little bit, but very, very controllable, you know, so it sort of made my life a little bit easy. So, but no, fantastic. No, I've really enjoyed that race.
A few people to thank?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, T. Scott from Scott and Stinson, he's doing a fantastic job running the whole team. We're actually off to the TT tonight, so he's running the 550s there again. Them boys been sleeping in an awning on the floor and all sorts of stuff. You wouldn't believe it, you know. They're sponsored by the Oasis Bar. They're helped by Motul Oils, RST for fantastic leathers, Ally helmets. And I'm sure there's plenty more. I mean, obviously all the marshals and everybody, girlfriend Charlie, Moments has turned up all the way here, and everybody else in competition. So on, so on forth, so many. Thank you very much.
Winner in the Street Fighters there, Mark. Yeah, you managed to get the better of Paul Cunvin. Not many people can say that this year, but it looked like you had fun out there.
I think he eased off a little bit towards the end because it was so slippy. The wets were just falling apart. Had a bit of a scary moment across the grass at Hall Bends, but managed to keep it upright and got on, and yeah, first win ever, so chuffed to bits with that.
Anyone to thank at all?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Troy at VES, Joe at Kappa Consult, there's loads, Chris at A41, Kez at ANC Soda Blasting, loads more, but I can't think who.
Well done.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Stock Twins winner. Now this is rolling back the years. Clive White, great to have you back here and great to have you on the top step.
I'm really pleased with it, Steve. I've surprised myself. I think it was my tyre selection, to be fair. I put a dry rear on, so I just thought it'd dry up. Maybe a bit of experience creeping in there, but that's what won me the race, really.
Dan Taylor has won pretty much every single race in this class so far this season. There's not many people that have been able to stand up to him. You've waltzed in at Cadwell Park and just taken his winner's trophy.
Well, it is next door, you know, it's a big local track, so, you know, it's funny with the weather, it dries very quick, and it just came to me, you know, it's real pleased.
Anyone to thank at all?
I thank Deb and my brother for all the help this weekend. It's been a good weekend, I've enjoyed it. And it's good to see you guys again, you know.
Right, and you, well done.
Thanks a lot.
Cheers, Clive. We'll see you out in the next one later on in the show. Coming up after the break, race 2, the Aprilia RRV 450s. Welcome back to Cadwell Park. Time for race 2 in the in-competition Aprilia RRV 450s. We've also got the LMB Formula 400s out there. Joe Thompson is with us on a Moto3 machine, number 74. Number 22 there is Zach Corduroy, fresh from his first ever win in the 450s earlier on in the wet. And also on the front row, Josh Owens. Will Hodgson, number 14, of course, regular Cameron Lee Championship leader. Just mentioned Zach Corduroy, Will Keynes, Aaron Clifford, also riders to keep an eye on. Look to the lights then. It certainly has dried up now, and the dry tyres are the order of the day as these riders head over towards turn 1. And looks like we might just have, is that Will Hodgson with the whole shot or not? Let's see once we get them. Oh no, there's a problem further back. Emma Franklin can't get her bike going at all, and so she's going to pull off, I think. Will Hodgson did get the whole shot. Number 14 it is that leads from 74, Joe Thompson. That's Booth there, Danny Booth, number 64, just going a bit wide. Number 9 just going through your shot there is Alex Taylor. And that there is 314 Luca Taglio from London on the Kawasaki 400. There's number 19, Aaron Clifford, Irish rider from County Meath. Not the only Irish rider out there, because of course Keelan Owen races from Donegal, the Scott Racing motorcycles as well. Number 69, a bit further back. Hodgson leads from Thompson, Cameron Lee third, Zach Corduroy in fourth. There's Keelan Owen, number 69. 65 is Owens. Number 54 is Sam Cox from Malden on the RSR Motorsport Aprilia 450. Now, Sam was in this championship a few years ago, then of course moved on to the 600s, was very competitive in that. and has decided that he wants to come back for a play in the 450s, and I don't think it'll be too long before we see Sam knocking on the door of podiums once more. Sam and his dad, who race as well, Phil, he'll see him out in the Golden Era Supersport, not only in the Thundersport Plus show, and I want to send the best regards to Sam's mum as well, Steph. I believe that Sam's mum and sister, that's Steph and Abby, have been doing some cycle racing for charity, and I think Steph had a bit of a crash somewhere, and so we send our best wishes to her because she ended up in hospital. So best wishes, Steph. Now then, there is 74 Joe Thompson, who has gone out front. Joe out there on that all singing, all dancing Moto3 machine. I tell you, back in the day, when those Moto3s first came out, I wasn't sure they'd be able to compete like this, but these days the Moto3 bike's got plenty of power packed underneath them, and top end wise have got the advantage over these 450s. Look at this lot here, Will Hodgson bucking and weaving outside of one, underneath another. Joe Thompson's gone from first to third. Cameron Lee, number 58, championship leader, is now into second place. Will Keynes is joining in, so is the yellow and black leathers of race 1 winner Zach Corduroy, but it's Hodgson that has the advantage at the moment, just through Hall Bends. Ron Hodgson cars sponsored down the side of Will Hodgson's machine. Cameron Lee, number 58, said that he'd be happy to take a weekend full of podiums, but he would love a race win. Onto the start-finish straight we go, and now you'll just be able to get the idea of that speed of that little Moto3 bike in third, number 74, as he closes in on the two guys out front into turns 1 and 2. Danny Booth still in the mix. There's Lewis Barnes, a Formula 400 rider, currently second overall in the Formula 400 in this race. Then it's number 5, that's Tristan Finocchiaro, and 73, Cameron Tenzing Jenkins, JDF rider. Change for the lead. Cameron Lee has taken the lead now ahead of Will Hodgson. Joe Thompson still there in third. Then a bit of a gap back to Will Keynes and Zach Corduroy. There's Connor Wheeler, number 96 from Hatfield on the JDF Racing Aprilia, up ahead of Chris Gray, who leads the Formula 400s. So this is the battle for 4. These guys really could do with just tagging on to the back of the trio out front. Aaron Clifford just at the back of that group, number 19. 58 Cameron Lee it is that gets himself tucked in under the bubble there as they head into the mountain. This section of the circuit seems to be where both he and Will just pull a bit on Joe Thompson in third. Then in fourth still Will Keynes, but great racing here from the 450s. And that Moto3 bike in third of Thompson still in between the two groups of 450s. Here's Chris Gray's finally got past Connor Wheeler and still leads the Formula 400s. He's got 3 450s wedged in between himself and Lewis Barnes at the moment. Third in the 400s is Andrew Carden. Getting in the slipstream though of race leader Cameron Lee is number 14 Will Hodgson. He pulls out and takes the lead into turn 1, up into Coppice. That's a positive cambered uphill left-hander. Surprising how much corner speed that you can actually take into that, but you have to get your line right because then you go right into Charlie's. Cameron Lee's got the lead back again, and Joe Thompson's got himself a bit closer this time. So Will Hodgson is pushed back to second place. If these guys constantly trip each other up, the rest are going to catch up, and it looks like Zach Corduroy now has gone into fourth place and closes in on the rest of this group as we get another glimpse there of Finocchiaro and Tenzing Jenkins. Down into Mansfield, still Cameron Lee from Will Hodgson, then Joe Thompson and Zach Corduroy, who has broken away from that group and catches. There's another change there. Will Hodgson now through into the chicane, taking the lead up ahead of Cameron Lee. And Joe Thompson feints a move to the inside to Cameron Lee. Zach Corduroy definitely part of this leading bunch now. The top 4 go by. There's Will Keynes and Aaron Clifford in 5th and 6th. They're coming up to some traffic. Poor Luca Talley over here has really been woken up through Hall Bends by the race leaders. Will Hodgson it is that leads from Cameron Lee. Joe Thompson still in 3rd place. Zach Corduroy, the race 1 winner, in 4th. Then Will Keynes now looks like he's starting to close that gap down in 5th place. In 6th, just in the background, Irish rider, it's Aaron Clifford struggling to stay with the pace at this moment in time. Further back, it's Ross Simpson, Danny Booth. There is Keelan Irwin, number 69, ahead of Chris Gray, the Formula 400 race winner, it looks like, for the second time, but it's Will Hodgson that leads. There's a change for second. Joe Thompson is now up there on that red and yellow Moto3 machine. There is 69 Irwin up ahead of Formula 400 leader Chris Gray, then Connor Wheeler, number 96, and then Sam Cox. Into Mansfield we go. For now, we can catch our breath. Hodgson from Thompson, from Lee, from Zach Cordovan. I have to say, we've seen quite a few moves going on through the chicane here this weekend at Cadwell Park. It's an unusual place to pick out an overtaking manoeuvre, but if it works and sticks, then why not? Into the mountain. Hodgson with that advantage over Joe Thompson, and this is where Cameron Lee might just fancy his chances of getting onto the tail of Joe Thompson in second, and that has allowed also Zach Corduroy back into the mix. Zach will be hungry for another win now that he's got his first in the 450 class. Zach Corduroy was 10th in the championship coming into this weekend. That might just change when we look at the championship standings at the end of this race. The last lap flag is out, and here comes Joe Thompson pulling out of the slipstream. He's got a bit more power behind him anyway, and so that extra little bit of help from Will Hodgson will come in very handy indeed. There is Danny Booth, number 64. He's in 9th, up ahead of Matt Rangerley. Then Chris Gray, who's now got another couple of bikes in between himself and Lewis Barnes in the background. Barnes is number 50, the other Formula 400 rider. 69 on the 450 is Keelan Irwin, and 54 Sam Cox is now ahead of Connor Wheeler. So out front, Joe Thompson on the Moto3 bike ahead of Will Hodgson. I wonder what Will will do here, because Joe Thompson isn't a threat in his championship because he's not in his championship. Joe's the only Moto3 bike out there, and so he just needs to be careful not to get him mixed up in anything. He needs these points. Thompson it is that leads the race outright though. Will Hodgson is in second place. Cameron Lee is third, but second in class. Zach Corduroy still a threat there. Now Connor Wheeler's gone past Sam Cox and Keelan Irwin. So good job being done here from Connor Wheeler. This is the battle for 11th, 12th, 13th and 14th. Chris Gray in 11th leading the 400. So we've just got one corner remaining then. And Joe Thompson, having hogged the start on that Moto3, has done a decent job here, and he will surely win the race outright. He does. In second place it's going to be Will Hodgson. Third goes to Cameron Lee, and fourth place goes to Zach Corduroy overall. Josh Owens is fifth, and Will Keynes takes sixth place. So then, onto the podium we go. The top three in the Aprilia 450s are Will Hodgson, Cameron Lee, and Zach Corduroy. Excellent effort from them. And in the Formula 400s, Chris Gray takes another win ahead of Lewis Barnes and Andrew Carden. The championship going into Oulton Park, Cameron Lee still leads it, but the lead is 33 points now to Will Hodgson. Sam Wilford drops to third and will return hopefully soon. Danny Booth fourth, Ross Simpson fifth. Zach Corduroy's moved up from 10th to 6th. Barnes still leads in the Formula 400s, but Chris Gray really has closed that gap down. Just 22 points between them now.
Third place in the Aprilia 450s for race 2, Zach Corduroy. You weren't quite able to do the double here today, but you've had a fantastic weekend.
Yeah, brilliant weekend. That race was a bit difficult, sketchy conditions, a bit wet around the trees and that. But yeah, overall good race, yeah.
Do you think you can take this confidence now on to the rest of the season?
I wish to hope so, yeah. Well, challenge the other rivals out there like Cameron, Will and that, so yeah.
Cameron, been on the podium 4 times. Of course, not quite been able to get on the top step, but for the championship, solid points.
Yeah, we've had a really good weekend points-wise and podium-wise. We've had some really good races. We've built on the bike and our performance. So I'm really happy with it. I had a mega battle with Will, and you know what? It's just what racing's about. To have a really good racing to come off, and you know what? It was in the end he got me. So I'm just really chuffed. So I've had a really good weekend, and I hope to keep it up for Oulton Park.
Fantastic weekend for you. Let's be honest. Weren't quite able to get the win this morning, but you've got another 25 points. Great battle there with Cameron.
Oh, it was absolutely brilliant. I really enjoyed it, to be fair. I think we were touching bars at one point going down the back straight, so just really made up, and glad to have a good weekend and stay on the bike for once. I've been having a bit of a nightmare this year, so happy again.
Great race that one there between Will Hodgson then and Joe Thompson. Coming up after the break, the Super Teams. Welcome back to Cadwell. Time for the Dunlop Aprilia Super Teens. including the Nitro newcomers, although in truth the majority of the field are newcomers with orange bibs on. Here's Max Cook, who finished second earlier on. Jack Scott, the race 1 winner, finally got that first win. On the left of your screen there is number 9, Connor Thompson. This is Charlie Atkins though, number 56. Give a little wave to the camera. He won't wave for too long, he's got to hold on to his bike because he's only got one leg on the floor. You can barely stand up on that bike. Of course, the split grid here, Thundersport 500 Cups as well to keep an eye on. We'll do our best to guide you through that as the day goes on. The lights go out then for the Aprilia Super Teens. A dry race this time for the Teenies as they head away from the line and up towards Coppice Corner. Good start for Jack Scott. Max Cook looks like he's going to be in second with Connor Thompson in third. Just coming around the outside there also Charlie Atkins. Freddie Crane still struggling with that bike. It's nothing to do with the rider. Max Cook takes the lead from Jack Scott. Jack Scott in fact falls down to third because Charlie Atkins goes underneath him also. So it's Max Cook with the lead. There's Reese Irwin, number 54 as well, Samuel Messenger, and number 77 Cade Verwey from Silverstone on the Team XG Group Aprilia. I've not seen anyone from actually hailing from Silverstone before in a race programme. That's newcomer Cade Verwey, number 77. Leading the race then, as they head around the new chicane, is KJD Racing's Max Cook, number 30, rider from Swindon. And then it's number 56, Charlie Atkins from Goole on the Metcalf Autos Aprilias. These two lads, despite the fact that they're not exactly very tall and they're very, very young, they have been racing each other before and they have got a bit of racing experience because these days riders are starting out on mini motors as early as 3 and 4 years old, and then they move on to Metra kits, and so by the time some of these riders have actually made it onto Aprilia Super Teams, although it's astonishing that these youngsters are racing at the age of 12 on these motorcycles, some of them have already got 6 and 7 years worth of experience. There are others out there that are just completely brand new to racing altogether, and every now and again we try and find a story for you to tell. But the vast majority these days of newcomers that come into motorcycle racing have come from 2 or 3 years of experience on slightly smaller bikes. Of course, the natural progression these days for Aprilia Super Teens, the Aprilia 450s, I don't think it can actually get any better than that progression. I think that's been proven over the years with some of the fantastic racing, and then ultimately you can move from a 450 onto a 600. Look how many British Superstock 600 competitors at the moment had come from the Aprilia Super Teens and the 450s. It's astonishing. Number 30 there then, Max Cook it is, that's stretching out a lead already ahead of Charlie Atkins and Jack Scott. That's your top 3, the cream of the crop so far. Then it's Harry Phillips, number 46, then Freddie Crane, number 81, Connor Thompson, number 9, just moving up there on Alex Wood on the Rimmer Racing Aprilia. Leading the Thundersport 500 Cup, meanwhile, further back, there's a bit of a battle going on between Glenn Stewart and Chris Ponzia. Believe it or not, we lost Matt Bauer and Jamie Holmes on the first lap, by the way. I don't know what happened to those guys, but they're out of it. Here comes 46 Harry Phillips from Leicester on the Eco Roof Aprilia. Then Freddie Crane from the Isle of Man on the Jugger Racing Aprilia. And number 9, Connor Thompson from Morley on the CRT Racing Aprilia. Alex Wood from Shipton Thorpe is on the Rimmer Racing Aprilia. So these youngsters all looking to follow in the footsteps of previous Super Teen riders that have gone on to success. You don't necessarily have to win this championship to have a successful career. Lots of riders that have failed to win this in the past have gone on to big things. Most notably, I suppose you could say the Lowe's brothers, Chaz Davis, Leon Camier, Bradley Smith, for example. Lee Jackson, a runner-up, of course, in this championship in 2009, currently in the British Superbike Championship, doing really well. And the good thing is that even some of the recent Aprilia Super Team winners and competitors from 2008, since it's been with Thundersport, are really going on to bigger and better things, which is always great to see. Here's Freddie Crane again then, number 81. His dad's absolutely gutted that they can't get the best out of that Aprilia at the moment and it's not running well. He feels so sorry for Freddie because he, of course, just wants to give him the best possible chance. There is number 11, it's Mark Leaning. dad of Will and Josh Leaning. That's why you'll probably recognise the colour scheme. They will be featuring that Thundersport 500 Championship in Thundersport Plus, which you'll be able to see at a later date here on Motors TV. And I would strongly advise that you tune in if you like Thundersport 500 racing, because we've had some astonishing racing in that class in the past. Just in the background there, number 9, Connor Thompson, just going onto the grass. He's done well to stay on board because it's not the grippiest of stuff, especially when we've had a downpour overnight and into this morning. Max Cook, by the way, is clearing off. Look at this lead he's got. There he is across the line, and he's almost got the lead of the entire start-finish straight at the moment. The KJD Racing rider, who at the start of this weekend was locked on points with Charlie Atkins. Here's Harry Phillips. He's in 4th. Jack Scott, meanwhile, is still in 3rd place, the race 1 winner. But this is 4th place, Harry Phillips. Then Freddie Crane, number 81. Then Alex Wood, who's having a good run out here, number 26. And has a look up the inside, but Freddie Crane closes the door. Into Park Corner there for Max Cook. He's just up ahead there of number 197. That's James Froggatt on 7 Rifles Racing Thundersport 500 Cup machine. Lots of Thundersport 500 Cup riders out there today, as I mentioned to you. Here's another one, the race leader in the Thundersport 500 Cup, Glenn Stewart, number 88 from Braddon on the Isle of Man on the Blackstone Racing Honda. He's having some fun out there. Currently leading ahead of Chris Poncia, number 57, rider from Attleborough, not too far away from Snetterton. And Mark Leaning, in fact, Mark Leaning is on for a trophy here. We're not used to seeing Josh and Will picking up the trophies. Mark Leaning, I'm pretty confident in saying that Mark Leaning, who's not just a Thundersport 500 Cup, but is a senior Thundersport 500 Cup runner, that would be his first trophy with Thundersport GB. The last lap flag is out then for Max Cook. What a masterclass this has been from young Max. He's lapping 2 seconds quicker than anybody else per lap. Still in 2nd place is number 56. You just saw at the bottom of your screen there, 55. That was Jack Scott in 3rd. There's number 172, Dave Schofield from Barnsley. Schofield family and friends, as ever, making lots of noise down in the paddock here this weekend. There is number 30 then, race leader Max Cook. This will do his championship the world of good. It looks like it's going to be a straight fight between him and Atkins. Although, with Jack Scott's recent climb to success, who knows whether he can have a say. And if Freddie Crane can get his bike working, you could end up with 4-way fight for the Super Team Championship, which would be nice, because in recent years, we've had probably one rider, let's be honest, in the last 2 or 3 years that's just dominated. Not seen anywhere near close enough races. Alex Wood there and Connor Thompson still fighting away. That is for 6th and 7th place. Here I am saying that we've had no one dominant this year, but this is probably by far the most dominant performance we've seen so far in 2015 by Max Cook, looking very comfortable indeed through Hall Bends. Roll it off into the hairpin, and now just barn corner then for Max Cook. I wonder where we'll be seeing Max in the future. Number 56 there is Charlie Atkins, who's going to take 2nd place, but the checkered flag is out and Max Cook does the business. It's 25 points for him. Nice work there to Max, and a very well done to you. Charlie Atkins does take 2nd place overall, and Jack Scott is 3rd. All 3 of them Nitro newcomers. 4th place for Harry Phillips. Freddie Crane musters up a 5th place despite having technical issues with his Aprilia. Connor Thompson is in 6th overall. So the happy 3, Cook, Atkins and Scott. And then in the championship standings, Max Cook is just 9 points clear of Charlie Atkins, and then Freddie Crane is now in 3rd as we go to Alton Park in Cheshire next month in the Nitro Newcomers. Cook leads that one as well from Atkins, that one by 14 points. Jack Scott 3rd ahead of Thompson, Phillips and Rhys Irwin.
Third place in the Aprilia Super Teams and the Nitro Newcomers, Jack Scott. Jack, you weren't quite able to match your win from earlier on, but it's been a very good weekend nonetheless.
Yeah, it's been a very good weekend. Yeah, I couldn't match it from the other race. Yeah, it was good.
2nd place for you here in the 2nd race at Cadwell Park. The championship between you and Max looks like it might go all the way to the wire.
Yeah, we've been doing some great racing the whole way through. I was expecting a really good race then, and Max kind of left me then. but it was still good and I enjoyed it a lot.
Max, that was like a magic act. You just disappeared there.
Yeah, well, I tried my hardest. Really wanted to win again today, and then I was trying all the way to the last minute, and I thought they were right on my tail because there wasn't a pit board, so I kept pushing and pushing, and I looked behind me when the race was over and there was no one there, and I was like, where'd everyone go? So yeah, it was a great race.
Coming up after the break, the final part of this show, the HMT Racing Super Twins, Stock Twins and Street Fighters. Welcome back to the final part then of GP Racing Dream. Brad Peary on pole position, number 97, and we'll be looking for an improvement on race 1, and he'll go head to head with the winner from earlier, James Folkard, on the Scott Racing Motorcycles Aprilia 550. Folkard, who dominated in the wet, definitely dry now, everyone on dry tyres. And there you see Dave Butler, thumbs up from him as well. James Folkard on the Avons, of course. Avon, a sponsor of this class also, really are a name to remember at the moment. Their tyres are being talked of in high regard at the moment by most people in the paddock. Everyone that runs them is saying that they're fantastic tyres, which is great stuff. Away from the line we go. Brad Peary it is, that looks like he's got away very well. Folkard up alongside him. Dave Butler also. Is that Folkard though with the hold shot as they head around Coppice Corner and into Charlie's? It's not, it's Brad Peary, number 97, that has the advantage in the early stages from Folkard, then Butler, then Will Hodgson. So good start. Oh my word, there's a couple of riders, there's that, or was that just one rider? Flying through in the background there into Park Corner. A rider has gone down. Not sure what's quite happened, but well, we've definitely got a couple of riders that have just gone missing from the time screens here, and I'm not sure if that was both of them or one of them, but Tio Papadopoulos and Luke Mamet have both gone missing, so you have to suspect that they were involved somewhere there. Brad Peary leads from Folkard, then here comes Dave Butler having a look up the inside of Will Hodgson, not quite able to make it count there. Dave Butler from the Republic of Ireland, you can see the sort of Irish flag painted underneath the rear seat unit there of his machine. Brad Peary at the moment with plenty of company in the shape of Folkard. There's Matt Rangeley. Matt, number 93 on an Aprilia 450. He's just up ahead of number 109, Ben Crow. See them all coming through. There's Rangeley, 93. Ben Crow, number 109. 53, Clive White. 26, Dan Taylor. So Clive White up ahead of Dan Taylor in the Stock Twins here also. Peary leads overall here in the Super Twins. Brad Peary, who would, in an ideal world, I would imagine, like to try and fight for this championship. But he's lost a few points recently to James Folkard. He is going to take some stopping this season. Believe it or not, coming into this weekend, Dan Taylor, Stock Twins championship leader and last year's Mini Twin champion, is currently second overall. It's such a consistent rider and going very well. There's Matt Rangeley, then Ben Crow, number 109. There is Dan Taylor, just as we mentioned him, out there on the direct commercial Suzuki 650. So Peary leads from Folkard. Folkard at the moment just trying to close in on that 650. Some circuits, the difference between the 650 Suzuki and the Aprilia 550 doesn't look like there's much, and there's not a great deal in it. I would say probably marginally the 650 just has the edge on top end speed, but there's not a great deal of difference, as you can see on circuit right now. 97 and 11. Peary and James Folkard, who won't have raced much together until the start of this year. Brad Peary, of course, came through the Aprilia Super Teams much like Zach Corduroy a couple of years ago, around the hairpin and in towards Barn Corner for Dave Butler, also number 91 on the Butler Racing Kawasaki, privately run machine. The Irishman still in third place. Rangeley, 93. Then Clive White, 53 ahead of Taylor, so number 109 Ben Crow back. There's Charlie Oakland, number 23, then 60, which is Greg Maduro. 111 is Aaron Bradley from Nottingham on the Brown Builders Suzuki. Brad Peary at the moment not putting a foot wrong out front, and Folkard struggling to stay with him at certain sections of the circuit. There's Will Hodgson, he's in 4th overall. We saw him obviously earlier on picking up the win in the Aprilia RRV 450s, and will be taking a lot of confidence with him to Old Park next time out. Who will get the win here? Peary at the moment just got the edge over Folkard. They come into the mountain and they're nowhere near as close as they were the lap previous. Folkard was right on his tail last time they went over there. There's number 91, Dave Butler, just going underneath Andrew Pugh on that Street Fighter bike. And for the Street Fighters, by the way, Paul Cunvin, number 81, the Royal Air Force Motorsports Association back rider, is currently 14th overall and leading the Street Fighters ahead of Biswell and Ian Matthews. On board here then with James Folkard. Onto the start-finish straight for Folkard, the rider from Liverpool, and then braking for Coppis, the first left-hander here. Uphill, then into Charlie's. A tricky one to get right, this. Easy to drift wide. A bit of a now he had to just take diverting action there and get past a back marker. This is the Stock Twins fight between Clive White and Dan Taylor. Dan doesn't look like he's given that one up, does he? He may well be leading the championship by a way, and Clive might not be a threat. Dan still wants that victory. There's Dave Butler, number 91, still in 3rd overall. Now this gap at the front has increased. Brad Peary's got a bit of space now, hasn't he, to play with. A good 2 or 3 second lead over James Folkard now, who might have just waved the white flag for this race and said, 20 points is better than trying to throw it up the road chasing Dan Bradley. Who's, at the moment, Folkard on for another 20 points, extending that championship lead over Dan Taylor and Sam Wilford, who's absent for this weekend. Dan Taylor has got ahead then of Clive White, number 26 on 53. I wonder how Clive's feeling at the moment, because he's not raced for a while, so a weekend full of racing, 4 races in total, that will probably come a bit tough to Clive at the moment. I'm not sure if he's got much fight left in the tank to get past Dan again. The last lap flag is out then for Brad Peary, and he has a 4-second lead. Further back here, 76 and 78. That's Josh Martin being overtaken there by Giles Day. Nice to see Giles out there. But for race 2, Brad Peary unstoppable, and Folkard not able to do much about it. Clive White did have something left in the tank. Sorry, Clive, I was doing you an injustice there, wasn't I? Dan Taylor has had to fight his way back past Clive again in the closing stages of this race. He wants those 25 points to extend his championship lead. Paul Cunvin, it looks like, is going to take the Street Fighter win again. There's Mark Biswell, who's actually currently in 2nd in the Street Fighters, number 35, who Brad Peary's just putting a lap on. And then up ahead, he's got a few more riders to lap as well, just to deal with in the closing stages. This could fall and become a bit tricky for Brad. Let's see how he deals with this one. He's got a handsome lead though over James Folkard at the moment. He can afford to roll off a bit, and he doesn't try anything too tricky, and so he should be on his way to a win. Dave Butler will be on the podium again in 3rd. He's up ahead of Will Hodgson, Matty Rangeley, and then it's the battle between the 2 Stock Twins. Across the line then, Brad Peary does it. 25 points for number 97, and he takes the 25 points here in race 2 ahead of James Folkard and Dave Butler in 3rd. Will Hodgson takes a 4th place ahead of Matty Rangeley, and Dan Taylor did in the end finish ahead of Clive White for that Stock Twins victory. There they are on the podium then, Brad Peary, James Folkard and Dave Butler. In the Stock Twins, Dan Taylor ahead of Clive White and Aaron Bradley. And then in the Street Fighters, Paul Cunvin is off to do another race, so Sid's decided to take his winner's trophy instead. James Folkard leads the championship then by 119 points from Dan Taylor. Bradley Peary has climbed to 3rd and gives himself some chunky points ahead of Sam Wilford. In the Stock Twins, still domination from Dan Taylor. Charlie Oakland 2nd ahead of Madero, Schofield, Bradley and George Anderson. And then in the Street Fighters, Paul Cunvin it is with a huge lead ahead of Mick Riddle. Rob Pracknell's 3rd ahead of Mark Biswell, Andrew Castle and Adrian Teasdale.
Winner of the Super Twins race there, Brad Peary. Brad, you've had your highs and lows so far today here at Cadwell Park, but in the end you got the win. James kept you honest at times in the race, but you managed to see him off.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a great weekend. Like, it's just a bit of a shame. Made a mistake on first lap, like, it's my fault. But I still get my head down, like, and I was just hoping nothing was wrong with the bike after off flight. But it's been a bit of a iffy season. Like, we've always been there, but we just had mechanical problems every round, apart from Donington, like, but where I've had a crash. But it's been well deserved. Like, I think I need to finish one of these Sunday races, and I got one, like, but. The bike held up this time, and I could park her up and go back to Alton.
Anyone to thank at all?
Oh, I've got loads of sponsors, and especially Mum and Dad. They've really been. It's been so hard, like really hard on them. But I've got loads of sponsors I thank, like Mark Hill, Torridge Roofing, Diamond H Lifting, Shire Homes, Plungaffs, Giz, Brian Gregg, Dawn from Co-op, like she's been hanging around. CS Tuning, Colin Stevenson. He's also at TT right now, so I'd like to wish him best of luck with Scott Wilson. Ormond Steins for brilliant stickers and all that. Jackson's Motorcycles, Chapelos. I don't know who else it is, but it's absolutely everyone that's supported me and all my family, friends, and especially Mum and Dad. Cheers.
Winner of the Stock Twins Race 2, championship leader, defending champion, of course, from last year as well, Dan Taylor. Clive White got the better of you in Race 1, but you weren't having it in Race 2, were you?
No, I needed to win. It's my mum's birthday today, so happy birthday, Mum. Got that one in, didn't I? Yeah, it was a tough tyre choice in the first race. I made the big mistake. Clive rode well. The first couple of laps must have been treacherous for him, but he won that one. Had to come out here and prove a point, didn't I? Leading championship, so I've got to win a race and be on TV. Got to love it, haven't you?
Anyone else to thank?
My dad, let's say, is the main guy in my team. He helps me out tremendously. Got Lee, Paul, that's not been here for a couple of times, but all part of the team. Direct commercials, big part of me racing this year. Shane Brocklehurst Transport, Sparklight Racing again for getting these leathers right. NLC for the tyres. The missus that is at home, she's getting better now from Snetterton, so all good. Thank you very much.
From Cadwell Park in Lincolnshire, we head to Alton Park in Cheshire next. The race is at the end of June. We'll see you then.